What is going on YouTube? Joe here with Culination Media, and we are here today to talk about what's going to be going on BattleSpot starting on September 8th, because we have Season 6 starting. Season 5 is the, whatchamacallit, the special meta is the 6v6 itemless thing that we have going on. I've got that going on the channel. And before that, it was Inverse, and they had VGC doubles for a while going on. This upcoming meta, which starts on September 8th, as I already mentioned, is pretty cool. It's going to be in a double battle format, so that's a little bit unfortunate because I don't really like doubles so much. I really just like singles a lot more. It's nice to change things up every once in a while, so I may do it on the channel. Not positive yet. But basically, yeah, it's a double battle format, and there is a ban list. So that's pretty cool, and the ban list just consists of the most overused Pokemon, or not overused, but most used Pokemon. Oh my goodness, couldn't get that out. Most used Pokemon from the first 5 seasons, and I have the list here up on the screen for you guys. I missed at least one, but I'll go over it in a second. So we're going to talk about it. We're going to just be happy that these Pokemon are not going to be spammed all over the place. And we'll break this down a little bit. I'll give you some of my thoughts, some of my opinions on it, and I'm also going to share with you guys what I think might increase in usage now that these Pokemon are going to be removed from the meta for a little bit. We also have to keep in mind that it's going to be doubles, so we may see different things come into play there. I don't really know. So first, let's just go over the list as far as what is being banned. Before I forget, though, I do want to mention the one that I did not put on here for some reason. I guess I just derped on that. But Meowstic is the one that I missed. So I guess it's used a lot in doubles because I don't see it being used ever in singles. In fact, I don't know if I've ever run into one. Maybe once or twice, and I'm just forgetting about it. But I never see Meowstic used in singles. It's really not that good. Even the male prankster user. I guess that's why it's so overused in doubles, but you never see it in singles. So yeah, I don't really know what to say about that, but at least you won't have to worry about the prankster swagger coming off that. We may see Leopard come into play to replace that. I don't know. But now let's go over the actual list, aside from just Meowstic, because it's Meowstic, we don't need to spend a lot of time on that. We do have Gengar. I'm assuming that is for Mega Gengar. That's what most people use it for. So the Perish Trapping set isn't that big of a deal as far as double battles go, because maybe it is. I don't know. Maybe it is. That's the thing. I don't know a lot about the doubles meta in general, but I do know it's a pain in singles. I do know that, and that's because switching is so important in singles. It's not nearly as important in doubles. So, but still, Gengar and Mega Gengar are just crazy to go up against. Mega Gengar especially is so fast and so powerful. It's pretty darn frail, and it gains that weakness to EQ, but I'm not really going to be sad to see it gone. Let's be honest here. Charizard, the second one, even in singles, a very, very, very common Pokemon, only because of the Mega Evolutions, of course. So, I'm guessing in singles, or not singles, I'm guessing in doubles that Charizard Y is the more used Pokemon, because that's the only one I've ever seen when I've watched double battles. I guess that's not a really good thing to go off of. But it also does set the drought and everything, and Heat Wave, stab Heat Wave is a big deal, especially in the sun. That deals a butt ton of damage. And I even saw it in VGC Worlds just a couple of days ago. I was watching some of the championship matches, and Charizard was kind of all over the place. And yeah, so no more Charizard. That's fine by me. Then we have one of the most hated Pokemon this generation, Mega Kangaskhan. Of course it's being banned just because of, well, it's not being banned because of what kind of Pokemon it is. It's only banned because of usage. But not having Mega Kangaskhan around in any meta is perfectly fine with me. I cannot stand the Pokemon. I can't stand how overused it is. It's spammed on just about every single team. Singles, doubles, I think probably triples, probably rotation battle, probably everything. Everything except for the itemless meta, where surprisingly you don't see it anywhere because it doesn't have a Mega Stone. Same thing with Charizard. You just don't see it. One of the only Mega Pokemon that you see running around in the Itemless meta is Gengar, because it can actually function on its own. Not that Charizard and Kangaskhan can't, but nobody's going to use it without the Mega Stone. That's just what it is. So no more Kangaskhan. Good riddance, in my opinion. Gyarados is something that kind of surprised me a little bit. Now, I can see how the whole, Intimidate factor can really play a big factor in doubles, because it intimidates both of the opposing Pokemon, and there's a lot of physical attackers that, I mean, if you look at this list, there are a lot of physical attackers, so yeah. Especially with Kangaskhan running around. Kangaskhan and Garchomp being big-time threats in both singles and doubles. Gyarados and that intimidates, I can see how that's very useful. I haven't seen a lot of Mega Gyarados in the doubles matches that I've watched, and in singles on Battle Spy. It's just not a very common thing. It seems like, if anything, Dragon Dancing regular Gyarados is very common, and then like Rocky Helmet Intimidate, just, defensive-ish, bulky Gyarados is pretty darn common. So we won't be seeing any more of that. I don't really have an opinion on that, because I don't think Gyarados is an overly spammed Pokemon, in my opinion, but apparently it gets used a lot on Battle Spot. Now we also have Tyranitar. Obviously, this is another Pokemon that's not banned for its Mega, or not used for its Mega, rather, because you just really don't see Mega Tyranitar at all. Tyranitar does have a lot of different sets that it can run. It can be choiced either with a band or a scarf. Most of the time you see it as a bulkier set with either Assault Vest or just lefties and, what have you. Stealth Rocks, that kind of thing. So it has a lot of different possibilities, so I can see, you see it on a lot of teams. Just, it's kind of all over the place. So yeah, I can see how that's going to be a thing. But while, again, another Pokemon that's just for the Mega, its attack stat is ridiculous. It's got the Sucker Punch to make up for its bad speed stat, although it doesn't make up for it that much, because you can just not attack it or set up subs while it tries the Sucker Punch, or it does have its weaknesses. It is being suspected over on Smogon in OU, but that's for... I don't want to get into that because I could talk forever about that. So yeah, no more Mawile. And we have a Salamence, which can do a bunch of different things. In singles, the Moxie-Mence is very common. Mixed Moxie-Mence is really scary. So is the Dragon Dance set. I like to run that. In doubles, the Intimidate really does come in handy. So I've seen it used a little bit more of a... I've seen it used in a little bit more of a defensive or utility role with even Roost, which is something I thought only I did, but hey. So I can see it getting banned. I don't see it a lot in singles, actually, but I guess it's common in doubles. Garchomp is common everywhere because its stats are ridiculously good, its typing is ridiculously good, it's just good. It is just really, really good. The Mega Chomp is not used as much, not nearly as much. Scarf Chomp is probably the most common thing that I see as far as singles is concerned. It actually, I've tested out an Assault Vest variant. That works out pretty darn well. But I've also seen it with Yachi Berry to decrease the power of Ice-type moves so that Ice Beams just don't kill it the first time around. Swords Dance, I've seen it with Lumberry, Choice Band. It's just got so many options. And now, bulky Garchomp with like Rocky Helmet is a big thing, and Rough Skins. That damage adds up pretty darn fast. Doesn't have as good of a defensive typing as Ferrothorn does with the Iron Barbs Rocky Helmet combo, but it does the job. So it's just so versatile, and I see it all the time, so I'm just more than happy to see that go. Sylveon is not something I see very often in singles, but I can see how it would be a big thing in doubles because it has a lot of support moves. It gets the Wish, it gets, Wish Protect is a big thing. I'm not sure what they run in doubles, but, Hyper Voice also, I think, does it hit both opposing Pokemon? I'm not sure if Hyper Voice hits both opposing Pokemon, but I know Dazzling Gleam does, so that would be something to think about in doubles. Then we have Togekiss, which is usually run as a power-flinching, annoying piece of doo-doo, but sometimes people run it offensively with Scarf. It can run Nasty Plot, it can be defensive, it can be all kinds of things, so I see why a lot of people use that, and it has a really good typing too. And it can pack the defog, which is more of a thing in singles, not so much 3v3, but you get my points. We have Rotom, which I guess they're just banning as one Pokemon, but we all know that everybody uses Rotom Wash the most just because of its typing. It's kind of ridiculous. Grass is really the only thing that you can do to kill it, unless you got mold-breaking EQs or something like that, which Gyarados, Mega Gyarados, did have, so that is the thing. In OU, if you've ever played OU, Rotom Wash is one of the most overly spammed Pokemon in existence, so I'm perfectly fine with seeing that go. Cresselia is an annoying, toxic stalling piece of garbage most of the time. Let's be real here. Most of the people that run Cresselia use it as a toxic stalling Pokemon, although it can also run a calm mindset, you know, physically defensive. I've even seen it with Rocky Helmet, which is pretty darn cool, and it gets, is it Healing Wish? No, Lunar Dance, which kind of does the same thing as Healing Wish if I'm not mistaken, but basically it just heals a Pokemon coming into battle. So I don't know how much that plays into the doubles metagame, but it is a thing to think about. And it's bulky as crap, so a lot of times I'm assuming if it's in doubles that 2 attacks, even if you double up on it, it's not going to die because it's just ridiculously bulky. Then we have Greninja, which unfortunately has become, again, another one of those overly spammed Pokemon because of Protean, its ability to go physical or special, although almost all of them are special. It gets access to spikes. It just has so much at its disposal. It gets stabbed on every single move that it uses. And it's incredibly fast too. I'm really upset with how standard it has become, because it's such a cool, you know, a great design on a Pokemon. I really like using it. It's just, it's unfortunate that it's stuck up in the higher tiers as far as usage is concerned. So that's not going to be usable anymore. Then we got the Talonflame. I really don't even have to get started on that. That's probably up there with Kangaskhan as far as one of the most hated Pokemon to come into contact with in a battle this generation, just because the priority Brave Bird is a huge issue. Everybody loves to run Banded Talonflame. It's about as standard as you can get. It doesn't really take much skill to use at all. You just send Talonflame in and Brave Bird everything, and you win most of the time. So I've been experimenting with defensive Talonflame, which I think is a little bit cooler. You get some extra utility with Will-O-Wisp and Tailwind, U-Turn for momentum, and it actually takes some skill to use. So it's kind of fun. It's another Pokemon. I really like its design, but it's gotten to the point where as soon as I see it, I get a little bit irritated, and as soon as it goes for Brave Bird, I'm like, oh, you're choice banded. Just standard nonsense. I don't know why that gets under my skin so much, but I know a lot of you guys understand my pain with that, and a lot of you have, just judging by the comments that I've seen on my videos, you guys aren't a big fan of the choice banded Talonflame, or even the Life Orb Talonflame either. Then we have the Amoonguss, which is not a big thing in singles. It's another one of those things that's just overly spammed in doubles because of Spore, and you just take out, you know, one of your opponent's Pokemon out for a while, basically. And in doubles, 1, 2, or 3 turns can feel like an eternity, because those matches move so quickly. You got, you know, double the amount of Pokemon on the field. It's just not good to have a Pokemon asleep, and it's got Regenerator, so it can switch out, which still comes into play even in doubles where switching isn't a big thing. Then we have Landorus and Thundurus, the genies. A lot of OU players just don't like them. They're just annoying. Both of their forms, they're really annoying to go up against. Thundurus in particular seems to have my number. Whenever I go up against it, I just get plowed over. It's one of those Pokemon that it's like, even if you have things that generally work out well against it, it just doesn't go your way. I don't have that much of a hatred for them because I don't see them a lot on BattleSpot, and I don't play OU a lot, so I don't see them that often. But I'm sure if I was a regular OU player, judging by what I've gotten from talking to some of my friends and other people on YouTube that play OU, they're just, yeah, the people don't like them. So that's that. And then we have Aegislash, which recently was just banned from the OU metagame over at Smogon again. And I keep bringing, I know this isn't Smogon, so why do you keep talking about Smogon so much? It's just because I follow their rules, and that is the metagame that I know, so I try to relate. That's where most of my knowledge comes from. is the Smogon metagames. I know a lot of you guys don't follow it, but that's really the only way I can relate and actually talk about this somewhat knowledgeably, so that's why I keep referring to it. But we have Aegislash here, and Aegislash has so many different options. It's got, you know, the Toxic Stalling set, which I didn't even know was a thing until very recently. Sub Aegislash is apparently a thing in VGC. Then you've got a fully, you know, physical set that it can run with Swords Dance. You've got a fully special set that it can run with Flash Cannon and Shadow Ball and all of that stuff. It can run mixed, which is the one that I see most commonly. It's got priority in the Shadow Sneak. It's got dual base 150 defenses when it's in its shield form, and it's got access to King's Shield, which pretty much neuters any physical attackers that make physical contact. You know, obviously that leaves out the Earthquake users, but which is very, very common in VGC. But I know for one that it's spammed in the singles battle spot. So there you go. There is the ban list. I pretty much just went over it one by one. I wasn't really expecting to do that, and that really did draw out the video, but I wanted to talk about it a little bit. Why not? Why not actually have some informational content, right? So let's see. I need to take a look at my notes here because I want to talk a little bit to you guys about what I think has the potential to rise up in usage. And when I made these notes, I wasn't really thinking about the fact that it's going to be doubles. Because these Pokemon are not going to be banned from just the normal singles meta. You have to go to special for this ban list to take place, which is a bit unfortunate. I kind of wish they did it on everything, but they can't do that. They can't do that. So a couple of Pokemon that I think are going to become very, very prominent. Dragonite was one of my #1 picks because multi-scale is a big thing, and in doubles you don't see entry hazard, so it doesn't really have to worry about that. If it gets a safe switch in, you're not taking it out in one hit. It can pretty much get up a free Dragon Dance. They like to carry that weakness policy, so even if you want to try to hit it with an Ice Beam, most of the time it won't kill through the scale, and it's, you know, its attack power just goes through the roof. It does get access to EQ. It gets access to Outrage, Dragon Claw, even Fire Punch to take care of Steel types. So yeah, I think Dragonite's going to start to become a little bit more of a threat because there has to be some kind of dragons that are going to replace Salamence and Garchomp. I think Dragonite's going to be one of the #1 choices, especially on the physical side. On the special side, I see Latios being one of the more common special attackers. It doesn't have that 4 times weakness to Fairy like Hydreigon does. It has the Levitate, so EQ is so common that being able to levitate over that is going to be a huge bonus. It has fantastic coverage as well. It has recovery if you want to use that. It has moves like Surf, so you could even pair it with Pokemon that has Water Absorb or Storm Drain even. So that is the thing. I do think that we're going to see, we need to see some more defensive Pokemon coming into play here, because you see Cresselia getting removed, Amoonguss is a big defensive Pokemon, Aegislash is used defensively often, so is Rotom, Togekiss is, Sylveon can be used especially defensive, some of them run physically defensive, Salamence can be run that way with the Intimidate, Tyranitar, bulky. A lot of these Pokemon are very bulky. You see very few just glass cannons. I mean, you see the Gengar, Greninja, and Talonflame. Other than that, most of these Pokemon are fairly bulky. Even the Charizard, when it Mega Evolves, it gains a little bit of bulk, so that is a thing. So as for what's going to be replacing it, I think that we may start to see Ferrothorn rise in usage. It doesn't have a lot of use in doubles, I know, because you have the you know, one of its main uses is hazards, and it's not going to be doing that. But it does have Gyro Ball. It's got some things at its disposal. If nothing else, it can get you some momentum by switching in, taking some hits. Well, I guess that doesn't really get you momentum, but you know what I'm saying. It's got a lot of resistances. It can absorb some hits, things like that. I also think that Gliscor and then either Chansey or Blissey and then Porygon 2 are going to be big defensive Pokemon. These are very popular Toxic Stalling sets, and I wish this was singles, because then I really do think they would rise to the top. I'm not sure how well they would do in doubles, but they're really good defensive Pokemon in singles. I know there's no reason for me to just keep mentioning singles when we're not talking about singles, but stalling apparently is just a big thing right now. Even in doubles, I've seen it quite often, which it's really difficult to stall in doubles because there's so many Pokemon on the field. But toxicking things and just being able to live hit after hit after hits, I can see Gliscor especially because there are so many physical attackers. I can definitely see that being a thing. Porygon 2 has the Ice Beam, so if there's going to be a lot of dragons that start to run around, you've got that. I wouldn't be surprised to see Mega Venusaur start to become one of the megas of choice. Also the Mega Manectric, because it's so frail, but it has that Intimidate. It's got Volt Switch. If you really wanted to use that, that's not common in doubles. But that would allow you to just not so much get momentum, but come back in and intimidate things over and over again if you really needed that. It can carry the HP Ice for a Pokemon like Gliscor or Dragonite that could start to become a thing. And it also, before it Mega Evolves, it's got the Lightning Rod, so depending on what other Pokemon rise up, if you see, if you have a weak, electric weak team, Lightning Rod can be very, very useful as an immunity. And then another Pokemon I think, this is probably going to be my last Pokemon that I want to mention, is Heatran, because it has so many possibilities. You can run it as an offensive set. I've seen it Scarfed. You can, apparently, one of the big things right now that over the last couple of weeks that's just become a big deal is Sub Protect Toxic Heatran. Of course, granted, again, we go back to singles. That's where I've seen it. But it's just so bulky. It doesn't have recovery, but not a lot of things are recovering in VGC format or doubles format. You don't see a lot of recovers and roosts and stuff like that because it just doesn't work out as well. But Heatran has so many different possibilities. It doesn't like EQ, which is a bit unfortunate, but Air Balloon could be a thing. So it's not going to be affected by Toxic. And it's got a decent amount of resistances. It's got a 4 times resistance to Fairy, so Dazzling Gleam is going to be doing just about nothing to it. So that's pretty much what I wanted to say. I tried not to linger on it too much. This video already has gone on quite a long time. So what I want to ask of you guys is what do you think of this whole new setup that we're going to have? Are you happy to see these Pokemon that are on your screen right now? Are you happy to see them leaving the meta, even if it is going to be doubles, even if you're not going to play it? Does it just make you happy to know that they're going to be gone for a little bit? That's pretty cool. I like it. Even though I might not play it, I still think it's pretty cool. And also, what do you think is going to rise to the occasion, especially if you have some knowledge in doubles play? Because I'm not claiming to know that much about doubles. In fact, I really don't. I've admitted on several occasions I'm pretty darn bad at it. I don't play it very often. I don't have nearly as much knowledge about the metagame as I do about singles. So if you know a decent amount about it, what do you think? What is your opinion? What do you think is going to rise in usage? What do you think is going to start to become a common strategy? I don't really know. I gave you guys my ideas, so now you can give me yours. I'm interested to read your comments and see what you guys have to say about that. So with that being said, that's going to be it for this time, guys. Like I said, actually I don't think I said it, but I hope you enjoyed the video, and I will see you all next time. But until then, game on.